Well, hey everybody, JD with the Gideon Knox Group. You might know some of our publications like the flagship Pulpit and Pin, which became PNP News, Protestia, the Montana Daily Gazette, and a lot more that you don't know about. Well, you do, but you may not know that they're run by Gideon Knox Group. We're a conservative and Christian publishing group that gets out alternative news. That's what we do. And we have been incredibly concerned about the level of censorship for a number of years. We've been banned off of Facebook long before it was cool. Usually it's because in some way we offend the so-called transgender community or the LGBTQ XYZ LMNOP. Lately, it's been articles about Antifa or the COVID vaccine. We're not COVID truthers per se, but we may not give the typical talking points that are expected from the mainstream press because we're not the mainstream press. And so after the outright ban on President Donald J. Trump and censoring of the United States president, we launched just this week a new program by the Gideon Knox Group entitled the Insurgency Email List. We wanted to send to people directly to their inbox banned news. That's news not banned by the federal government, but banned by big tech. That includes news like Steve Deace and news provided by, what's his name? Todd Starnes, news by Zero Hedge, The Federalist, Gateway Pundit, Sovereign Nations, and of course our own websites. We wanted to be able to get the news out to where it needed to go because Facebook won't allow it to be posted, Twitter won't allow it to be posted. It could be posted on Parler, and then Amazon and Google killed it, and Apple. And so we thought we'll send out our email directly to the people. And so we already had an extensive email list and we piled a bunch more on so we can get it to people directly. And guess what? Mailchimp has now banned the Gideon Knox Group from using our email. We can't use our email. Now, interestingly enough, in the second installment of the insurgency email blast, we reported on Mailchimp banning a pro-gun, aka pro-civil rights, that's what it is, because the Second Amendment is a civil right, a pro-civil rights group in North Carolina. We kind of knew it was coming. Now, here's the good news. I instructed our communications manager to back up those emails a few days ago. He was working with my assistant to find a workaround, a free speech platform by which we could send emails. And so that was already in the works. I kind of suspected that they would do this, and sure enough, they did. We put out a press release at Gideon Knox not long ago. The Gideon Knox Group, a publisher for Christian and conservative online news sources, as well as a think tank for public relations and public relations firm dedicated to helping Christians and conservative leaders. And this is the reason why we were banned by Mailchimp, most likely. As announced earlier in the week, we launched the insurgency email list using emails that were legally obtained and ethically obtained among our news consumers. It wasn't spam. They signed up. Many of you listening signed up to get emails from us. That's how we got our email list. We didn't buy them. We're not abusing them. Somebody can unsubscribe whenever they want. And so they banned us and linked to a prohibition against pornography and terrorism. Again, Todd Starnes, Steve Deace, The Blaze, Gateway Pundit, Zero Hedge, The Federalist, Steve Bannon's War Room. I understand that that is not the flavor du jour at the moment in the United States, but it's not terrorism and it's not pornography. Now, in October, Mailchimp said that they would fact check our emails. That is our private correspondence. They're going to fact check our emails. My question is, what's next? And you can see this. We posted about this also at Patreon, which is the only means anymore to support us because Google and Amazon have killed our ability to advertise and even for people to get to the website in terms of not having to be on the second or third page of Google. We were the #3 in terms of readership, the third largest Christian news publication in the United States. Montana Daily Gazette is the top online news source, top news source of the entire state of Montana. We're number one. Look at us on Alexa compared to the Billings Gazette. If we're alternative and not mainstream at this point, I don't know how you would judge otherwise. I mean, you would think readership alone would make us mainstream enough to have our views heard, considering more people trust us than trust the Billings Gazette or the Helena Independent Record or the Bozeman Chronicle or the Sydney Herald. And yet we're not allowed to discuss these things. We did a post at Montana Daily Gazette about this as well. Mailchimp bans Montana Gazette for sending emails of unapproved news. Now you can see here on the screen, as a matter of fact, I'll show that directly from Mailchimp. You see where it says contact compliance, our automated abuse prevention system Omnivore. I'm being judged by artificial intelligence. It's basically Skynet giving me a hard time. Omnivore has detected an action or content in your account that may be in violation of our acceptable use policy. And when you click on that, the acceptable use policy, you'll see what they're talking about. Now look at this. Illegal goods or services, pornography, sexually explicit content, campaigns promoting or supporting terrorism or violent extremism, or deviating from the so-called consensus regarding COVID-19. What was our violation? We just published news that they didn't want to publish. And so we see all of big tech acting in tandem to rid the world of alternative news. Now, here's the scary part. What we're seeing in a ban on emails, to even email, is the principle. Here it is. You can't ban anything unless you ban everything. As long as this news is getting out in any capacity, people are going to find it because of the capitalistic principle of supply and demand. Where there is a dearth of something, there will be a demand for it. And if the truth is let out anywhere, people are going to come find it. That's the only reason my publications have survived, because people will go out of their way to find the truth. They have to shut down email. It's not enough to shut down social media. Our ability to email one another without being censored or fact-checked by some Soros-funded lackey paid by Facebook or by Twitter or by Amazon, operating off of a Soros grant, is now combing through our emails, our personal correspondence. Not okay. What's next? Our text messages? And the answer is yes, of course. If you don't think that they're going to ban URLs, certain URLs from going through the phone system, you're absolutely nuts. So I'm working on a couple things, just so you know. One thing that I am working on, let me go over to this next screen. One thing that I am working on is Radio Free Montana, essentially, and I would encourage people to do it everywhere. You know the FM receivers that churches have used to broadcast to their parking lots? We have one. Those need to be set up in every town, multiple places. They can go about 10, 12 blocks. Like in Sydney, where I live, a town of 5,000 people, it covers half the people. I think we may have to end up doing a daily news update broadcast over terrestrial radio using, well, essentially pirate radio to get it out. That's where we're at in 2021 America. If we want to get news out, we have to pirate the radio waves. So we're going to be asking for volunteers all over the state, all over the Rocky Mountain West, and Lord willing, it takes off and everywhere, to take a daily podcast, set it up to your computer, play that over the FM receiver, let everybody in town know if you tune in at this time of day, you're going to hear real news. Something else that we're working on, how to put together essentially an underground internet among the WAN networks in large areas. It only works in big towns and cities to provide free Wi-Fi, so to speak, into the Borg of resistance, the insurgency, to at least get news and information that way to people so they can still get it on their mobile device if they're connected to your individual Wi-Fi network. This is 2021 America. This isn't Kim Jong-un's North Korea. It's not China. This is the United States. This is what happens when you let Democrats take over. This is what happens when you don't stand up to real fascism. This is what happens when you don't do your best as Christians to oppose wickedness in the name of Jesus. And you decide instead to make every single issue except pro-life a pro-life issue. This is what happens when you let the Comintern's in evangelicalism keep us from the voting booth. This is what happens when you have guys like Mark Dever and Tim Keller, who are registered members of the Democratic Party, tell Christians not to vote. This is on us, all of us. And if you think for a cotton-picking minute that they're going to stop at J.D. Hall or Steve Bannon or someone like that, you're nuts. Let me again remind you of the principle. They can't stop anything unless they stop everything. They're going to come for us, and we have to be ready to provide alternative media to get the truth out. Jesus was the one that says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And these are the individuals who are doing their best to keep human beings from communicating together in the public marketplace of ideas. No, not even the public marketplace of ideas. That's social media. They're trying to keep us from communicating in the private marketplace of ideas, our emails. Up next are texts, your phone. Gab is coming out with their own cell phone to get around the censorship of, like the Google Play Store and Apple iTunes apps and so forth. I got to tell you, like you got to start thinking about what network you're going to use, what cell towers you're going to use. You think they're going to let you? It's not going to happen. In the end, we may all be communicating via shortwave radio and ham radio. This is headed downhill, as Spurgeon would say, at breakneck speed. It already happened to American religion. Now it's happening to our freedom, to our nation, to our country. We've surrendered our nation to a regime of despots and dictators. What they are accomplishing, that is big tech, in terms of censorship, makes what North Korea and China do pale by comparison. What's happening right now is Kim Jong-un's wildest fantasy come true. These wicked people are socialists using capitalism against capitalists. Of course, they're committing suicide as a nation, as a culture, as a society, but they don't care because the people at the top are into it. Eugenicists, globalists, dictators, and despots who hate humanity, who hate your ability to speak freely, which is the most fundamental of all civil liberties. So in God's name, damn them. Damn them all.